Good morning and welcome to the Forex Daily Update, brought to you by Pepperstone on Monday the 21st of May 2018. I'm Darren Sinden and you can follow me throughout the day on Twitter by using @DS_Pepperstone. Right, let's take a look at those overnight changes and price moves to be aware of. And as it's a Monday, we'll take a look from a weekly perspective. There's one story really that we need to be aware of, and that is the resurgence of the US dollar. You can see it quite clearly here against both the euro and the pound sterling over the course of the last 7 days. And here, again, in even more, or reinforced I should say, in even more detail over the monthly moves that we can see here. The dollar has also made gains against the Japanese yen over the course of the week, adding 1.44% against the Japanese currency. And we'll look at some of the reasons behind these moves momentarily. But it's pretty clear that the US has the upper hand in the so-called trade war, trade negotiations at the moment. That's exemplified here by the move in Mexican peso against the US dollar, the peso giving a further 1.52% away over the course of the last week. Dollar index for its part trading at 93.84 shortly before we recorded the video, adding an impressive 1.35% on the prior week. Right then, what's on the calendar? Events that may move the markets today. A relatively light calendar today with holidays in Germany, Switzerland, Canada and France. We'll also have some data out already in the shape of credit card spending data for April out of New Zealand. That was out at 3 a.m. this morning GMT. To come at 8 a.m. this morning, the EU Financial Stability Review. But that will make interesting reading in light of recent events in Italy and the prospect of a populist government there with a possible anti-EU agenda. We'll also see this morning the publication of the Bundesbank monthly report, the German central bank's take on the state of the German economy and its finances. 12:30 GMT, we'll see the Chicago Fed National Activity Index for April, one of the closely followed regional Federal Reserve economic activity indices there. 15:30 we'll see 3 and 6 month T-bill auctions. Be interesting to see what the demand is like for these in the wake of a strong US dollar. And then at 16:15, the first of 3 central bank speeches today. This one from FOMC member Bostic. He's followed onto the stand at 18:05 by his colleague Harker, speaking at 18:05. And then to finish the day, 21:30 sees the ever popular Neil Kashkari speaking to bring proceedings to a close. Right, breaking news and comment that's caught my eye over the weekend. First of all, the USA and China appear to have put their trade war on hold. US Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin said on Sunday that negotiations with Chinese officials have borne fruit, allowing them to stop their tit-for-tat imposition of sanctions. More details on that to follow, I'm sure. Japan's trade surplus has grown by 30% year on year in April as exports rose sharply in excess of imports into the country, but the data still fell short of market forecasts. Meanwhile, Thailand's Q1 GDP has registered its strongest growth in 5 years, rising by 4.8% year over year. This follows growth of 4% in Q4 2017, and the country has now seen 12 consecutive quarters of strong growth. Right then, food for thought, something to take away with you into the trading day and beyond. Well, why not think about this? Debt burdens in the emerging markets are growing, according to data from the IMF. And meanwhile, Harvard professor Carmen Reinhart has highlighted that those same economies are more vulnerable to a US rate rise or inflation shock than at any time since the global financial crisis in 2008. Why does that matter? Well, if US interest rates and the dollar were to rise more quickly, thanks to increases in US inflation, then that will raise debt servicing costs for EMs, many of whom are hard pressed at the moment and facing an increasing debt burden, as we've noted in previous comments. The chart here from the IMF shows the growing debt burden as a percentage of GDP in the emerging markets. And the second chart, the table here, shows us where US Treasury yields are relative to annual highs as of Friday night's close. Right, please take a moment to read the risk warning. Trading CFDs and foreign exchange on margin can be a risky business. If you're in any doubt about those risks or the suitability of the products for you, then please contact your Pepperstone account representative.